Welcome to the Friday Sports Buzz. John Lewis along with Clear Channel's Kristen Thoburn. And Kristen, it's been, I think it's easy to say it's been a crazy day and crazy night.
It's been a long day over at the Clear Channel studios. Lots of storm coverage, lots of damage reports. We're obviously wishing the best to everyone in Indiana, Henryville, and Marysville specifically,
right.
But long day.
Yeah,
yes.
It has been. Eastern Kentucky got hit tonight. I mean, it's just, we learned a lot. Again, it's one of those things where sports certainly has to take a back seat. And Julian Tackett, the commissioner of the KHSAA, did the right thing, I think, today. And he postponed every high school game. So what's happened now is the 6th Region Boys that was to be played at Bellarmine, that has been postponed to Sunday. So tomorrow at Bellarmine, Bullitt East will take on Butler. That's at 3 o'clock. PRP will take on Moore. That is at 5 o'clock with the championship on Tuesday. And also, obviously, up in Indiana, things have changed up there. The Seymour Regionals, they have been moved to tomorrow. New Albany will take on Bedford North Lawrence at 6 o'clock, and Jeff and Jennings County, they'll play at 7:30. Now, you can hear both those games. Charlie Jenkins will have the play-by-play tomorrow on 1450, the Sports Buzz. That starts at 5:45. So obviously they had to make a lot of moves, and we do, as you said, Kristen, wish the best to everybody as they try to recover, and things will go on, and sports will go on as it goes on tomorrow.
Charlie Jenkins.
Yes,
Southern Indiana legend.
Right. And the legend is back. He'll be on the Sports Buzz 1450 again, pregame at 5:45. All right, on Sunday, how about this? This is kind of interesting. Marv Albert doing play-by-play for the UK-Florida game. That is a noon game on Sunday. Florida kind of limps into this game, and UK does not.
No, not at all. I mean, UK was just so dominating against Georgia. Can we put some of the scrubs in? Yeah. I understand Miller's a senior. I know it's Davis's last game. Can we let some of the kids on the bench get a couple minutes? I mean, it's a 35-point advantage.
Yeah, at one point, UK was up 41 points in this game. I mean, it was incredible. UK wins by 30. They win 79-49. They shot 27 threes.
Oh, my goodness.
Hit 15
that was
of them.
The story. That was absolutely the story, is UK hot from the three. Did they gain confidence, or did they burn up all of their they say the percentages even out. Did you burn up all your positive percentages?
Yeah, you got to wonder. I mean, when you shoot 15 of 27 from behind the three-point arc, you might want to save some of that for the postseason. But I really think, and this was a conversation that Handsome Jimmy and I had on the radio show today, if they play like that, I don't know that anybody beats them.
I don't think anyone can beat them. I mean, I think there's been a lot of talk about a team like Syracuse or even a team like Duke being able to beat them in a game, especially if it's a close game. But if they can play like that, if they can shoot the three, which has really been their biggest weakness, and force you to cover them outside the perimeter, they are absolutely unstoppable.
And don't forget about defensively. Their defensive field goal percentage is #1 in the country right now. So not only can they score those points, they also defend well.
Well, there's that, and have we noticed that Anthony Davis now has a jump shot?
Yeah, how about and he shot a three last night.
He's got a jump shot, he can shoot a three,
right.
he can block shots, post up. Fear the brow, man.
Now, let's not forget this was Georgia. So it wasn't Syracuse, it wasn't Duke, it was Georgia, and it was senior night, and it was at Rupp Arena. But that said, we talked before about the opportunities that other teams would have to beat Kentucky, and so far they've passed every test. They went to Vanderbilt and won. They went to Mississippi State, blew them out. Mississippi State pretty much quit. And now they go to Florida, which was for the season finale, senior day at Florida. But Florida comes into this game. They've lost 2 in a row. They lost to Georgia by 14.
I don't see Florida winning this game. To me, early in the season, Florida looked like they actually might be able to compete and might be one of the teams that, especially on the road, Kentucky might have a little bit of trouble with. But everything I've seen from Florida since the last Kentucky game, has just been awful.
Yeah, and that's...
They don't look any better than Georgia to me.
No, and they also lost by 10 to Vanderbilt. Now, I mean, both of those were road games, so, I mean, you have to feel like Florida's going to have that home court. It's a Sunday noon game. It's a spotlight game. But I heard it best described today actually on a Clear Channel station. Jim Rome said Kentucky they have blue chip players who have a blue collar mentality. They have really checked their egos in.
They really have, and that's been one of the most impressive things about this team to me, is that even their superstar players, they pass the ball, they play within the system. There does not seem to be any ego attached to it. Ever since the Terrence Jones semi-meltdown early in the season, it seems like the team, I don't know if it's the winning creates that team mentality, but whatever you want to say about Cal's an X's and O's coach, he can get a bunch of #1 guys to play in a system, and that's amazing.
Well, and Terrence Jones showed up. I mean, you talked about the Terrence Jones meltdown. It happened against Indiana, the one game they lost. And that, even without Terrence Jones, because he was a non-factor in that game, they were still able to come back from a double-digit deficit and end up losing on a last-second shot.
Yeah, Terrence Jones, to me, has significantly hurt his draft stock this year.
I thought he's improved quite a bit, though. I think
But improving in how good you actually are often has very little to do with your draft stock.
Well, and scouts have said this. They said it last year. Terrence Jones tends to disappear, and that's not the kind of personality that they're looking for.
That you want on an NBA team.
Because NBA scouts, they draft upside. I mean, that's what they do. And you don't want a guy like that. But I think he, as much as he hurt it in that Indiana game, I think he has improved it since. With the way he's played. He plays with a smile on his face. He plays, as you said, within the system as a teammate. He hasn't pouted as much. I think he's helped himself.
I still see him fading into the D-League and then going to Europe.
Yeah, well, I mean, Lamar Odom is in the D-League now, so you never know what can happen. But Florida, it comes down. We had Jeff Goodman on radio earlier today from CBS Sports, and he said, and I think this goes for a lot of college teams, it comes down to guard play for Florida. And as far as guard play with Florida goes, it's not been good. It's not been good. I haven't seen the point spread yet. It will probably come out tomorrow, but I can't imagine that UK won't be a 7 or 8 point favorite.
And I would take that all day.
Yeah.
I would take that every day of the week.
And
you could make it 10 points, and I'd probably take that every day.
And UK is not a team that's been very good about covering the spread, but I think that
well, not early in the season, but they have since rebounded pretty well.
I tell you, you don't want to take too much away from just one game, but when you look at the way they played against Georgia, even though Georgia was a weaker team, the way they played, that was a team that looks like they're built for a run.
Right. Well, and to me, it's not just the past game, it's the past month of play in which they've just looked dominant. All of the little questions that you had through the beginning of the season and even through the beginning of conference play have really been answered, and emphatically. All
right. We're going to talk more about UK Florida. We'll talk about U of L and Syracuse, another one of those games that U of L really needs to win, because when the roller coaster season that has been is kind of on the downhill turn now, and they need to go uphill here pretty soon and get going as they get ready to head into the Big East tournament. You're watching the Friday Sports Buzz from the iTech Studios. If you want to get in on the conversation, call us at 964-2121. Stay with us. We'll be back after this.
Hi, I'm Jim Weeks. At MaxCare, no project is too big. We have the capabilities to handle the smallest residential project to the largest commercial undertaking. We even clean big houses like this one. And everyone has been abuzz about our amazing 4 areas for $99 special. We want to let everyone know that MaxCare also cleans upholstery, ceramic tile, and air ducts. We also install and refinish hardwood floors dust-free. MaxCare, locally owned and family operated. Give us a call, 636-4629.
If everything's coming at you, you're in the wrong lane. BC Rooster here. There are two ways to go through life. The first is to get yourself all tied up and down, scurrying here and there. The second is to pace yourself. Every once in a while, you gotta sit back and enjoy the fruits of your labor. That's when I head on over to Roosters. I just love the wait staff. It doesn't matter what kind of mood I'm in when I arrive. They make sure it's adjusted by the time I leave. When it's time to pull out of the fast lane, make it Roosters, a fun, casual joint.
Why should you consider Evangel Christian School? Evangel Christian School offers the highest level of education while teaching from a Christ-centered perspective. From grades K through 12, Evangel Christian School is developing leaders for tomorrow through the use of the latest in computer technology to a continued excellence shown through its teachers. So what are you waiting for? Make the decision today. Call for more information, 968-7744, or visit us online at evangelchristianschool.com.
Friday Sports Buzz tonight. John Lewis along with Clear Channel's Kristen Thoburn. We talked about UK and Florida. UK, a team that is look like it's built for a run. I think we can agree that they have Final Four written on them anyway.
Absolutely. I mean, if you don't make it to the Final Four, that's something went terribly wrong.
I think it would be an upset if they're not even in the national championship. Well, another team that I think a lot of people feel that way about is Syracuse.
Yeah.
Although Syracuse has certainly looked beatable this year. I mean, they're not a dominant
They do not
number
look
two.
nearly as invincible as UK does.
Absolutely
although I
not.
don't think anyone really has looked that invincible.
True. I mean, it has been UK and everyone else.
And yeah.
But Syracuse at home taking on U of L. That's a CBS game, 4 o'clock tomorrow. Last time out, well, only two teams have held Syracuse under 60 points. One was Notre Dame, and Notre Dame won, and the other was U of L, a game U of L should have won.
Should have won, correct.
So I think that speaks to how you can beat Syracuse. They've only been beaten once, and it was by Notre Dame. If you're a U of L fan, are you optimistic that you know how to beat them? Can you go into Syracuse and end their season, end your regular season on a winning note?
I think you have to be optimistic simply because you've done it so many times. Rick Pitino just seems to have Boeheim's number. And even in the last game that you lost, it was a game you should have won. It wasn't a game you lost because you played terrible and because you weren't in the game. I mean, that game was frustrating because you should have won it.
Well, the Syracuse game.
Yes.
Okay. Now, South Florida game, I think U of L played terribly. I mean, they had 17 points at halftime.
Yeah.
That if you do that, and they were at home, I mean, it was awful. Now, listen,
that was a poorly played game.
It was, and now South Florida has done that to teams. I mean, that's what they do.
Yeah.
If you look at their numbers, and numbers may not lie, but they don't tell the whole story. But you look at South Florida's numbers, the way they have played and the way they have won, they do it with defense. They grind it out on offense. They can do that to people. But I don't care. When you have a team like Louisville, you have to score more than 17 points at halftime.
Actually, to me, South Florida looked a little bit like some of the Rick Pitino teams from 5 and 6 years ago that would wear you down.
Right. And last time out with against Syracuse, Scoop, Chris Joseph, did not have good games for Syracuse.
Correct.
C.J. Fair scored 13 and kind of carried that team. But so, Louisville was able to contain the big guys, keep them down, but again, they should have won. And as you said, I think U of L fans, some of them are optimistic that they were in games, with Cincinnati, with Syracuse, games they should have won.
But then you have to worry about
Florida.
the killer instinct and that last shot where Peyton Siva, well, not really much of a shot.
Right.
Peyton Siva drives to the lane and there's either a turnover or he hopes for the foul and rarely gets it.
It goes back to guard play. And I feel like Peyton Siva, even since his freshman year, I don't think he's advanced as much as he probably should have under Rick Pitino or under any coach.
I agree, and I made this point to someone the other day, is that if Peyton Siva was still a freshman, I think fans would be a lot more pleased with the play that they're seeing out of him because he shows a lot of promise, but he needs improvement. But he's not a freshman, and he hasn't improved. And I think that's where fans get frustrated, and they go, why are we doing the same thing over and over again? To do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result is a sign of craziness. I mean...
Right. When you said Rick Pitino or Louisville has a problem with the killer instinct, that reminded me of what Rick Pitino said earlier this week when he said, I think actually on his radio show, he said, we can give any team in the country a good game. We can stay with them. Now, in 2001, when Rick Pitino was hired, would you think 10 years later, 11 years later, that would be a sentence that would come out of Rick Pitino's mouth that we can give anybody a game? I mean, they brought Rick Pitino in, paid him millions of dollars to turn this team around from what they were. Now, granted, he did take them to a Final Four, but I mean, really?
I have a little bit of a contention with some of the things he said on that radio show because it sounded like the third game of the season. Well, we need to get 3 shooters in the game, and we need to get Blackshear in. And I understand that they had some injuries, but if you still haven't figured out how to get your team to play on all cylinders, you're going into the Big East tournament. You're playing the last game of the regular season. This isn't the time to figure those things out. That should have been figured out 2 months ago.
Yeah, he did. He actually he said the word learn. We need to learn.
Okay, but you're switching up the whole lineup going into the Syracuse game?
Yeah. Now, if you believe,
I don't know.
If you believe what Rick Pitino says, he talked about dramatic.
Well, and I rarely do.
Right. And just like John Calipari, you take it with a grain of salt because a lot of times he uses the media to get a message to his players.
Right.
But he did talk about a dramatic shakeup. He also talked about pretty much trying to light a fire under Wayne Blackshear, and we wondered why was a shoulder injury really that bad that Wayne Blackshear's minutes were almost non-existent, and now he's saying, well, it might not be the shoulder, it might be in his head, and he's and he's had his assistants try to light a fire under him. I mean, it's just, it doesn't seem like it's all being
But it
put in
seems
place
like
for
we've
a
been
run.
hearing the same story for the past 3 years, and that's
Right.
the problem, is that the past 2 years had been the bridge to this year, and all of a sudden it's the bridge to nowhere. And where is it going, and why are there... This is the only team that I have ever seen with this many season-ending injuries every season. At some point, I mean, it was pointed out earlier in the season that maybe it's something you're doing.
Well, there could be something to that. It could be just a run of bad luck. But I do know you've got to have the players in there. Most of them are healthy. I think they do miss Mike Mara.
I absolutely agree.
Because they need a shooter that they don't have. One more shooter. They beat Syracuse. They beat Cincinnati. They don't go to DePaul. They don't take DePaul to overtime. They beat South Florida more than likely. One more shooter is what they need, and he might be on the bench. It's obvious they miss Rakeem Buckles.
Of course there's shooters on the bench.
Yeah, well,
they
miss Rakeem Buckles. I think even Stephen Van Treese would. If all those guys are healthy, we're having a different conversation.
Oh, I absolutely believe we're having a different conversation, and to an extent you can't control that. But on the other hand, you're a coach that's paid millions of dollars, and you've got to work with what you've got. You've got to work with what you recruited.
And what he's recruited so far, I think there are a lot of coaches out there who would take a lot less money, who would bring you those kind of recruits and probably the same kind of record.
Yeah.
And I just don't know how long this lasts.
And when I look at a team like Murray State, I go, there's no way that they have more raw talent on their bench than you have on yours.
And a first-year head coach also.
Given an easier schedule.
Right.
I understand that.
The Big East is not the OVC, but still.
I understand that. However,
there are issues that have to be resolved, and you've got to get the recruits in there. Now, one issue that we talked about was Jared Swopshire, and a junior who was honored on senior night because Pitino has pretty much told him that he needs to transfer to get more playing time. The Pitino spin was he can go elsewhere. We saw what he could do earlier in the season. He can go elsewhere and get playing time. He's not going to get it here. Your thoughts on what did you think about the whole Swopshire issue?
I have kind of gone back and forth on this. On the one hand, if he's not going to give you playing time, probably it's best to just cut the ties and maybe, he's got plenty of connections all around the country. I'm sure he can hook you up with this team whose system you'll fit into. On the other hand, that's just tough for a guy who's basically had an injury, and that's the reason you're not giving him another chance.
And he's playing out of position.
Correct.
The guy was a guard.
He's not doing what he was recruited to do, honestly. And I don't know, part of it is that he seems like a really nice guy. Let's be honest.
That's true.
I mean, oh gosh, I'm blanking on his name now. Went to Tech.
You talking about Derek Character?
Character.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, Derek.
Yeah, when Derek Character left, nobody was really upset about that.
But then Derek Character went to UTEP and played pretty well down there, which
Right.
didn't look great. But yeah, with Swapshire, my thought was, okay, Pitino brought him in. He didn't pan out, so now he's going to send him elsewhere. I just hope for Pitino's sake Tom Jurich doesn't follow that pattern, because I don't think that he brought Pitino in to get what he's gotten so far in 10 years.
I absolutely agree with that. And I also think that it's not a good message that you want to send to recruits. You're already in a one-and-done era, not having one-and-dones. Your players are having a lot of injuries. You're not really making it very far in the tournament, and all of a sudden you're sending some good players. Hit the road, Jack.
Yeah,
I don't think that's a message you want to send.
No, and I think a lot of other coaches who are trying to recruit those same players would probably use that against him.
Oh, I would.
All right, we're going to talk about some more March Madness and talk about a team right here in town that's doing awfully well. That's coming up right after this.
Pimp out your ride at Smart Shoppers, 4200 Produce Road. That's Smart Shoppers, 4200 Produce Road to pimp out your ride. They are open Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. They are the largest car audio dealer in the city of Louisville. No better place for paint or body work in the city than Smart Shoppers. You need rims, stereos, amps, paint, anything you need. Call 964-6652 or go to smartshoppers.com. That's Smart Shoppers, 964-6652.
Goomer & Company Jewelry is proud to celebrate our 40th anniversary.
Hello, I'm Bruce Goomer, founder and owner of Goomer & Company. This is a family business, and we'd like to thank you for choosing Goomer & Company. My family and I look forward to being your jewelry store for years to come.
For over 40 years, we've been the largest gold, silver, and diamond dealer in the area.
Come see us on Hurstburn Parkway or visit goomerjewelry.com and experience the Goomer difference.
Join the club at Sam Swope Auto Group. When you service a vehicle at any Sam Swope dealership, you automatically become a Service VIP Rewards member. You get member pricing on parts and service, lost key return, and emergency roadside assistance. Plus, you can earn points that qualify you for discounts on your next vehicle purchase, up to $2,500. The best part is becoming a member is free. Become a member today at any Sam Swope dealership. Nobody walks away because everybody saves.
88.5 WJIE welcomes the Call to Love Tour featuring Down Here. Here I am, Lord send me. Aaron Shoes. My hope is in you, Lord, all the day long. And Jason Gray. Tell me once again. Friday, March 16th, 7 p.m. at Okolona Christian Church. Tickets only $15. Available now at WJIE.org.
Jenny Merriman.
And I'm Greg Brom. Shop 21 Live is now with you 5 days a week.
That's right. Catch us Saturday mornings at 10, Mondays at noon, and Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 6:30 p.m.
Always offering you half price on restaurant, golf, entertainment, trips. We have it all here at 21 Live.
That's right, so don't miss it. Check out our website, shop21live.com.
21 Live, Kentuckiana's live local shopping show.
Wrapping things up here on the Friday Sports Buzz. If you believe in the bracketology of ESPN, which changes day to day, week to week,
month to month, and is never actually correct, except potentially the top 4 seeds.
Yeah, and Joe Lunardi's been pretty good about that. Let's take a look. He just actually updated it today, the new bracketology, and I don't think any of us would disagree right now, no matter what happens. UK still the overall #1 seed.
Absolutely. And how can you argue against it?
I don't think you can. And he says that overall #1 seed obviously is going to get you get the play-in winner, and also you get to play close to home, and it's going to be hard for them to get any closer to home than playing at the Yum Center, and that's what he figures would happen. They'll play in Louisville.
That's going to make Tom Jurich mad.
Listen, they didn't want Kentucky to play in the Yum Center, but they somehow will find a way to get in there. That's what Calipari does.
That's what they do.
All right, Lunardi has Louisville as a 5 seed, playing either Colorado State or Texas. Just so happens he has them playing in Albuquerque, which is not great, but it worked out for them back in 2005 when they played West Virginia and the Elite Eight went on to the Final Four. Now, being in a first-round game, not so great.
Yeah, that's rough, especially if you get Texas, I think. For some reason, I just don't think Louisville wants to match up against Texas. They've had their share of struggles this year, but there are some athletes on that team, and I just think that's a team you don't really want to see in the first round, especially with Louisville's recent history in the tournament.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, 2 straight first-round exits, not something they need again this year or ever again. Indiana, they still have as a 4 seed, and honestly, Indiana continues to be one of the surprises. When they lost big to Ohio State, I thought, okay, the real Indiana has shown up. They're going to pretty much fall for the rest of the year.
Yeah, the bubble has burst.
The bubble burst, but what happened? They just beat Michigan State. They're looking like a team.
They've had their struggles, but man, they just keep fighting. The team has not given up throughout the year. They've had their ups and they've certainly had their downs, but they just keep fighting. And I mean, I love them in the tournament simply because they're one of those teams that they've got fight.
Now, if they played the NCAA tournament in Bloomington, they would be the overall #1 seed because they can't be beaten there. But now they are, I think, they're 5-6, I believe, on the road. But he has them playing either South Florida or Northwestern. Northwestern's one of those Big Ten teams that have come close but can never get there. South Florida, obviously, I think is the surprise team of the season.
Northwestern, I see Indiana beating them. USF, I think that would be a great. I mean, I'd just love to watch that game. I think it'd be a good one.
Well, it's interesting that one of the top 4, probably one of the top 4 seeds in the Big East tournament would be a 13 seed, but we'll see.
Well.
Murray State is a 6 seed playing Mississippi State, which means Mississippi State would be an 11 seed. And how sad is that? Because Mississippi State was supposed to be one of the elite teams.
One of the SEC teams. I mean, the SEC was really supposed to be up this year if you talk to everybody preseason, and that did not pan out at all.
You were on the first Friday Night Sports Buzz here, and I remember saying that I would have taken the top 5 SEC teams against any of the top 5 teams in any other conference. Now, I don't say that because of hindsight being 20/20, but, I mean, Florida has faltered. Mississippi State's terrible. It's just they've really fallen. They're not what they should have been, and that team has really quit. They showed it against against Kentucky. And even the players said, some of the players said as much and said they probably wouldn't even recover from that.
I think Murray State would love to see them in the first round.
Yeah,
because that's a winnable game.
Very possible. Now Bellarmine, they're already in the postseason, and they won big in their GLVC opener tonight, 82-62. Bellarmine regaining the number one ranking. Jeremy Kendall tonight, last year's Player of the Year, 28.6 rebounds. Chris Dow, 13 points. Bellarmine looks like a team that is on their way again.
The fighting Scotty Davenports always get it done.
All right, and they will play again tomorrow. They're out in Springfield, Illinois. It's all the time we have tonight. I appreciate Kristen Thoburn for joining us here on the Friday Sports Buzz, and we'll be back here again next week. Have a great night, everybody.